Hello BookTube. Today for Tag Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the There Are 10 But book tag. This tag was created by Kieran of KD Books, and I'll leave a link to his original video in the show notes down below. So, every question starts with There are 10 but. So, let's get going. There are 10 but. Number 1, they're over 500 pages long. For this, I'm going to go with Postball, Post-Square by Kristina Spohr. This is a history of the late 80s and early 90s that looks at before the fall of the Berlin Wall and Tiananmen Square, and during the fall of the Berlin Wall and Tiananmen Square, and after the fall of the Berlin Wall and Tiananmen Square to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. I love this book. I've read it in 2020, shortly after it came out, and absolutely adored it. And it was one of the books that cemented my turn to history and my growing love of history and desire to focus a lot more on history reading than anything else. So definitely a 10. Prompt number 2, there are 10, but they're on pre-order. For this prompt, I'm going to go with, see if it'll work, Egypt's Golden Couple, when Akhenaten and Nefertiti were gods on earth, by John Darnell and Colleen Darnell. This is a look at the reign of the Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten, who preceded Tutankhamun in ancient Egypt. I have a sweet tooth for ancient Egyptian history, and I am positively thrilled that there are a number of ancient Egyptian history books coming out in the next few months. Not only Egypt's Golden Couple, but also there's one on Tutankhamun, and then there's one on the entire 18th dynasty coming out next year that I haven't yet pre-ordered, but I might soon. But I'm going to go with Egypt's Golden Couple because I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 10. Prompt number 3 is, there are 10, but there are red flag. For this, I'm going to go with Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor and translated by Sophie Hughes. This is a Mexican novel that came out a few years ago. It's about the murder of a transgender witch by 2 young men and her acquaintance, and it tells the story of one of the young men who murder her from the point of view of a number of people. The murderer's cousin, who hates him, the murderer's stepfather, the murderer's girlfriend, and the accomplice, who is also toxically in love with his accomplice. Therefore, this book it packs a wallop. I loved it in the sense that it's a great work of literature. It didn't necessarily have that that love in the sense of that magical reading experience that we all crave. But intellectually, I think this is a 10. And there are a lot of red flags, a lot of red flags. This is a very brutal book that looks at a very toxic milieu. So, yeah. Prompt number 4. There are 10, but they are over 100 years old. Well, my answer to this is a few thousand years older than that. And I'm going to go with the Theogony by Hesiod. The Theogony is one of, I think, about 3 poems, or at least in this anthology, there are 3 poems by Hesiod in here. And it's my favorite of the 3. It's about the birth of the gods and a quick genealogy of the gods of Greece, and I absolutely love it. It's just a delight to read whenever I get around to reading it. So I'm going to go with that. Prompt number 5. There are 10, but we're studying in school. For this, I'm going to go with the selected poems of William Carlos Williams. I read this for a modern American poetry class in college, and I absolutely love William Carlos Williams' work, and I really wish I had this collection back. Just kicking myself in the keister for having gotten rid of it during one of my periods where I wanted to purge all of the canonical and literary fiction and poetry and that stuff for my collection. Wish I had it back. And finally, prompt number 6. There are 10, but left you an emotional wreck. For this, I'm going to go with Volume 4 of Taliban Hanako-kun by AidaIro. Taliban Hanako-kun is the story of an incredibly haunted school in Japan. One day, one of the students, Nene, is told that if she goes to a specific toilet stall and performs a set ritual, she can summon the spirit known as the Taliban Hanako-san. Nene goes to the toilet stall, she performs the ritual, and she meets Hanako-san. However, unlike in the traditional myth, where Hanako-san would be the ghost of a young woman, this time it's the ghost of a young man, a young boy named Amane. Amane tries to grant Nene her wish. It does not go well, and Amane has to rescue her, and in exchange, Nene becomes his assistant. Initially, she just cleans his toilet stall, but later she helps him in his duties, regulating the relationships between the living and the supernaturals at the school. There are 7 mysteries at the school, of which Amane's Taliban Hanako-san spirit, or in this case Hanako-kun spirit, is the 7th, and that gives him a regulatory authority over the other 6, as well as the other supernaturals at the school. Joining Amane and Nene is Ko, a young exorcist who initially tries to exorcise Amane, but later becomes friends with Amane and Nene and joins them in their adventures. As the trio work to regulate the relationships between the living and the supernatural, something else is forcing the supernaturals at the school to go berserk, to act out, become more malevolent, more malicious. And the trio have to work to sort of stop this change. Volume 4 of Taliban Hanako-kun introduces the character of Mitsuba, a young ghost that Ko befriends, who is trying to be remembered. And as Mitsuba and Ko become friends, and Ko tries to help Mitsuba out, the main antagonist of the series, Amane's twin brother Tsukasa, comes along and mutilates Mitsuba and turns him into a monster that Amane has to send to the other side permanently, or for the most part. And those chapters in this volume were just absolutely heartbreaking. The growth of the friendship, and then that just rendering, and the final images and scenes in this volume are just heartrending and did leave me an emotional wreck. So I'm going with Volume 4 of Tolobon Hanako-kun as my final answer for this one. And I mean, Tolobon Hanako-kun is, as far as I'm concerned, a 10 out of 10 manga series. So that was the There Are 10 But tag. If you would love to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. I will leave the transcription of the prompts in the show notes. So yeah, as well as mention all of the books and poetry collections and manga that I mentioned in this video. That's all I got for today. So tomorrow, I'm either going to do another tag video, or I might do a discussion video about favorite books, or the fall of science fiction and fantasy, or maybe a manga book haul. Something, I don't know. But I'll definitely try to do a video tomorrow. So until then, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.